Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Lauren House. I am the hostess of Beyond the House on the Social Nostra network. And today I have a very special guest, Derek Evans. He's over at American Financial Network, and we will be discussing jumbo loans, VA loans, and appraisals. Hi, Derek. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So the reason why I asked Derek to join today is because I've had quite a few clients call and ask me about this jumbo loan. What's going on? What are the restrictions? What's changed since COVID's happened? So we wanted to pick your brain. First and foremost, for someone who doesn't know what a jumbo loan is, would you mind explaining what it is and who it pertains to?
Yeah, of course. A jumbo loan is any loan with the loan amount over $510,400. So at 510,401, it is considered a jumbo loan. Anything from that to, and up, 10 million, 5 million, 1 million, like all of that's considered a jumbo loan.
And that's not just for investors who are flipping. That's not just for primary residence. That's for second home, apartment buildings.
Yeah, any residential home. Yeah. Any loan over that is considered a jumbo loan.
Okay. So why have people been asking me what's going on? You want to tell me what's happened going into Corona life and then during Corona life, and now as we're coming out of it, has there been any changes that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, definitely. So before Corona life, it's
before the coronavirus hit the U.S.
Exactly. There are many different investors or banks that do jumbo loans. Your biggest banks are like Wells Fargo and Chase. And a lot of companies like the company I'm at, we can do a loan and we go through Chase guidelines or Wells Fargo, and then we sell the loan to them. But we have to meet all their guidelines for them to purchase the loan, and then they will service it. So since that's how normal life, and then once COVID happened, they kind of shut off all of the correspondent lenders, or a majority of them. I don't know exactly any banks that are still correspondent with those that are doing loans. From what I know, they've shut off all banks except basically clients they have in their banks. So you have to be a client of Chase or Wells Fargo to do that with them. There's still other investors that banks like myself can do, but they have tightened the guidelines on basically all of it since COVID. So I know previously for me, it was basically 680 credit score was the requirement. And then it jumped up to like 740. And then now, as of today, I got a notification we're down to 700. So it's kind of went 680, 740, now back to 700. So I do expect that to go back to 680. The exact timeline, I don't know. I would think, though, within the next few weeks. My guess is sometime in June, but that's a guess. So I'm not 100% certain on that.
Okay, so it sounds like throughout the weeks of COVID, or at least the high times of COVID, the borrower profile tightened just to make sure that the investor, as you call it, the bank, is going to for sure be paid back, and there will really be no hiccups should they decide to lend to this person?
Correct. They're just, a lot of people are asking for forbearance. So all the banks are tightening everything, trying to limit the amount of people that do ask for that, because the bank is still paying interest on those loans when people are in forbearance. So obviously it's not a big deal when one or two people ask for forbearance, but when hundreds of thousands or millions ask for forbearance, then it starts causing issues for banks. They have a lot of money, but they also give out a lot of money. So if they don't have it coming in, it causes problems.
Okay. And I believe during COVID, there were, as you called it, extra layers of security. Do you think that that's going to be something that you still need to obtain a jumbo loan, or will those kind of diminish and evaporate as we come back into more of a normal life?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely exist right now. I know for, me personally on a jumbo loan, we can only do primary residence and second homes. I can't do an investment property on a jumbo loan. So that's, an added overlay or security. added to it right now. I do expect that to come up. They've been slowly, kind of like the credit score requirement, they slowly are bringing, kind of tending down, removing some of that. But I'm not sure on jumbo how quick that'll happen. It depends, each bank makes those guidelines. So it all depends on when those banks start loosening things up. But I would think June, or at least, later this year at some point, those, kind of get more lenient.
Yeah, I mean, if they're already starting to drop the credit score, I feel like that's a great sign that they have trust in their borrowers and they're going to be moving forward. Do you think it would ever drop to below a 680?
Probably not. At least, I mean, there's certain banks that will do it. Generally, where there's kind of a price for everything. So if you go below 680, your interest rate's worse, and they're just charging more fees. So if they're taking on the risk, they're gonna you're gonna pay for it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's stuff like bank statement loans, all kinds of different loans where obviously your interest rate's much higher. You may be paying a point or 2 points or whatever whatever it is. There's, if people are making exceptions to do the loans, they're doing it, but you're paying for that exception.
Okay.
But on all loans, even loans under jumbo, those loan amounts, like our bank added some layers of security, the overlays, and we've since removed those. So I think everybody's kind of going back to normal, but it may take, a few more weeks or months or whatever that time frame is to everybody to completely be back to, where we were.
Okay. And then anything else that we need to know about that before we move on to VAs?
Another thing on cash out refinances, we only allow cash out on primary residence. So if it's a second home or investment property, we currently will not do a cash out refinance on those properties. We'll still do a refinance, but to take cash out, it has to be a primary residence.
Okay. Good
so, but yeah, I think I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but that's all I can think of right now.
Okay. And then as far as VA loans go, so for those who don't know, it's a veteran. What does the A stand for? I feel like I should know that.
Maybe Veterans Administration. I don't know. That's a
okay,
good question.
Good. I'm glad that it's just a VA. That's for the veterans. Thank you.
Yeah, it's for the veterans. We don't have to know that answer.
That's funny. So as far as a VA loan goes, you want to tell us, obviously we just disclosed who that is for. It's only for a veteran, and it can just be for one person, for one borrower, or both. But typically if one person was a vet, then it applies to that. You just kind of go with them because they do have some great deals. It's probably not the way to put it, but it's a great way to go if you have that benefit.
Yeah, no, VA loans are my favorite loan to do. So the main thing is no down payment required and no mortgage insurance. So those are the two main selling points for VA loans. And then there's also no loan limit. So there, you don't have to go off the county record of, the 5, 10, 400. You can go up to $1 million, $2 million. There's no limit on it as long as you just run it through and have approval and run it through an automated system and you get the approval, then there's no limit on the loan amount, as long as obviously they qualify debt to income and stuff like that.
That is very interesting. Like literally the world is your oyster. Does that apply? I feel like
pretty much,
I mean, that's pretty impressive. So if you go into, go ahead.
I like it. It hasn't always been like that. I'm not sure exactly how long. There hasn't been a loan limit on that. I believe it's been somewhat recent, like a year or maybe a little longer than that. But it's nice. It's kind of, taking care of veterans. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, that is a great thing. And obviously, if you have that service available to you, most people will go with it. So it sounds like 5, 10, 400. So they both, the jumbo and the VA both have the same limit?
Well, VA used to, but they removed that. So now you can go to 800,000 or 1,500,000 on VA, and there's no limit. Still considered just a VA loan.
Okay.
So no down payment, no mortgage insurance, anything like that. As long as you have your full entitlement, which is basically just means you can't have another VA loan or have a delinquent VA loan or something out there. So you have your full entitlement. There's no limit on the amount you can buy as long as you qualify debt to income.
Okay, there you go. That's great to know.
Yeah.
So now that brings us to appraisals. What have you been seeing lately? We are in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we both work valley-wide, but we just want to discuss appraisals and what they've been coming back at. Have they been coming in low for you? What have you been seeing? Have they been coming in high, right at asking, down to the penny?
Mainly right at purchase price is what I'm seeing. I haven't had a lot of issues with value. I've had a couple, but it's not the normal. So I've had some high, some low, but I'd say the large majority is right at value. So, but my biggest change in appraisals, what I've seen is timing. I was in 5 to 7 days getting an appraisal back from the day I ordered it. And now I'm closer to 7 to 10. I did have one that took 14 days, which I've only had one that was that long, but that's significantly longer than how it was normally. And I don't think that's necessarily COVID related. I think it's more related to interest rates being crazy low and every loan officer being busy with refinances, which in returns swamping the appraisers. I think they just have so many jobs coming in that they're just very busy, which is obviously pushing that timeline back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, an appraiser is not, it's a very hands-on job. You have to go to the house, you have to drive the neighborhood. I don't know what the sheet looks like, but I've been to an appraisal class and I'm pretty sure that there's like multiple pages, and it's a lengthy process to figure out the appraised value of a home. So it's not just like, let me throw it in a computer. They're actually at the house, hands-on, having a look around. They're reviewing the neighborhood. They're looking at comps. I know as an agent, I do receive calls from appraisers saying, hey, I saw that you sold this house at XYZ. What can you tell me about it? So they can get as much information to make the best decision for whatever subject house they're looking at. So,
absolutely. I wish it was as easy as looking the value up on Zillow, but unfortunately that's not always the most accurate.
Never correct. That's funny. Okay, so you've been seeing them come in right at asking. All right.
Vast majority's been right at asking. So I said I've had a few that have came in over. We've had a few come in low, but that's not the norm. Norm is just right at value.
Yeah, I would say majority of mine come in right at the agreed upon purchase price.
Yep.
I definitely have had some come in low, and that's a whole new ball game that you got to play because the seller's unhappy and the buyer's unhappy if it's out of pocket, right? Yep. And then I have had a few over the past probably 18 to 20 months that have come in over. So
I too. I've had one the past couple months that came in about 25,000 over, which.
Oh wow.
Which makes it a nice phone call compared to a 25,000 under. That's a little more difficult phone call.
And maybe we should go over that, because that's actually another question I get asked frequently is, tell me about an appraisal. Like, what happens if it doesn't appraise? So if it doesn't appraise, the buyer either has to come out of pocket. So let's just make it easy. So we're at $500,000 and it appraises at $475,000. The buyer has to come out of pocket up to the $500,000, which is $25,000 cash.
Yep.
The seller can drop the price $25,000. So now the appraised value is the $475,000 and everybody's good with that. Or you can choose a number between $475,000 and $500,000 that the buyer's okay with putting the cash in, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, whatever that number is, to bring the purchase price up, and then they paid the extra cash between the appraisal and the new purchase price. Correct? Did I get all that
So
right?
yeah, they can buyer can come up, seller can come down, or they can meet in the middle, like however it is. But pretty much what the mortgage company is saying, we're going to base it off of the appraised value. So if your down payment is 10%, we're going to go 10% off of the appraised value, not off of like say if you're paying the difference, we're not going to go off that high amount. We're going to go off the lower amount, and then you have to pay the difference in cash.
Yeah, and
and then the good news is if it appraises high, only the buyer is going to know that, because I do not notify the seller or the seller's agent that, hey, the house came in high. The buyer pays for the appraisal, so it's their property. So if they want to share it, they can. I always recommend that there's really no benefit of sharing it. I mean, to me, it's kind of like you're just rubbing it in their face that you got a good deal on the house. So
I agree with that.
I personally I say, here it is. And if they want to share it, share it. If I get asked, I'm like, hey, it's not my place to say. I just say it appraised.
That's really funny you say that, because I think I've had one lender one time say the number it came in at and it was over. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you are a seasoned lender. You've been doing this for decades. Why would you not call me and have this conversation before ask me to deliver the news? I was floored. So
yeah, no, I'll tell the buyer and the buyer's agent whatever the price it comes in at if it's over. But obviously, if it comes under, I'll share the value to everyone, because everyone needs to know that. Yeah, over, I only send it to the buyer because they pay for the appraisal. So it's their property.
There you go. And I think that is everything. I feel like we covered some good ground today. So
yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you again.
Of course.
Derek Evans is with American Financial Network, and I am Lauren House. You can contact either of us. Our contact information is below our screens right here. And feel free to contact us. We both will be super responsive and as helpful as can be. So let us know if you have any questions. Again, I'm Lauren House, and this is Beyond the House on the Social Nostra Network. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.